Alrighty, folks, it's been about 6 weeks or so of a pretty steady decline in mortgage rates. Happened to be during the slowest part of the year. We are now entering the beginnings of what may be an early start to the spring selling season. I thought it was time we talked to a mortgage lender who is in the business and say, hey, what is going on with lower rates? Is it sparking demand? And if it is sparking demand, who is winning, right? Who is winning the battle to secure some great deals? We're going to have this conversation with Jonathan from Convoy Home Loans. Man, how you doing?
Hey, I'm all right. I'm here for an interview with you.
It's always a good day, right? It's always a good day. So I
Um,
got to imagine in your business, lower rates means more activity, more loans, more pre-approvals, but it might not mean more funded deals because you still have to have a transaction. You still have to win the bid. So I guess a fear I have is, heck, you're a lot busier, but I don't know. Is stuff getting closed? I don't know what's going on.
yeah, I mean, stuff's going in. I'll tell you that. A lot of pre-approvals being written, like you said. Demand is definitely picked up. But really, everyone's bidding for the same properties right now
There's just
because,
nothing there.
yeah, we haven't seen an increase in inventory really happen in the last, I don't know, few months. There hasn't been a flood in the market. And I think, again, this goes back to what we spoke about before. People don't really want to let go of their lower rates and sell right now because rates are still technically, like, everyone's overreacting, I think, a bit on how far it's dropped, but it's
Right.
still higher than where it was, right?
Yeah.
People that have the ones, twos, threes are not going to sell and take a five or six.
Right.
So, um, I think that's kind of been the biggest problem is investors are trying to bid for the same properties a lot of times as like first time home buyers or like
Right.
that are coming back out of the woodworks, right? Because now they can do 5% down. Now they have a little lower of a rate barrier. So,
Mhm.
they're starting to compete against the same properties. And, if you're competing as an investor, you're competing against a home buyer that's going to live there, you're going to
Yep.
lose probably nine times out of 10
Oh, you're
because
right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, because you're not gonna want to go high enough to make it your numbers work for you, but the
Right.
home buyer doesn't care because they're gonna live there. They're like, who
Right.
cares?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the issue that we've been seeing. I don't know if you've in your conversations with a lot of other investors in your area.
I think there's two things I'm hearing. So first and foremost, demand is up. Now, demand's a two-sided function, right? You got to have the supply on the other side. So again, it doesn't surprise me that you're writing more pre-approval letters. I mean, I think that's what we would imagine. I'm hearing more and more folks are doing the work, which I obviously like. But yeah, if the deal's not there, the deal's not there. The other thing that I'm starting to hear more about, and in my opinion, there are some bad actors. There are some bad actors in mortgage that are singing the song to people that have low mortgage rates, saying, hey, you've got $18,000 in credit card debt. Why don't you take your $500,000 mortgage, recast it, and wipe out that 18K? So I thought we should talk about when does it make sense to do a refi on the first, what might be a better option, aka a second, because I don't want people to get got. There are reasons to refi. I get it, but when there are call centers that are doing 50 or 100 times more than anybody else, there's something going on. I think so. Let's talk about when you should refi and maybe what's a better option for some people than a straight refi.
Yeah, obviously we've been talking about like second loans being a very popular option, even though if rates are higher, 10, 11, 12, 13%, whatever it is,
Whatever it
it's
is,
better
yeah.
than getting rid of your 3% or 2% rate on your cash out,
Yeah.
right? I mean, don't let anyone convince you that even though your credit card bill is like 25%, that, if you pay that off with your mortgage when, with that much, it's going to make a lot of sense for you, right? It might just make more sense for you to get a second and then pay
Mhm.
off that credit card debt and then pay off the second later because
Right.
second's still lower. It's a lower rate. It's actually still half the rate of a credit card bill.
Yeah.
So you're still going to be able to achieve the same thing while keeping the rate that you might not ever be able to get again in our lifetime.
No, I
So
couldn't agree more.
yeah, so that's kind of been, I think, the main thing that we wanted to remind people of. Like, if you're in the 3, 4 range, like I mean, fives, mid fives, that kind of gets a little iffy
Yeah,
because rates are starting to kind of touch that area. But if
sure.
you're in the 3 or 4 on a 30-year fix, 2, 3, 4, like don't touch it,
Don't touch
right?
it. Don't touch it. Yeah.
Don't do a refinance on that thing. Your blended rate average is going to be much lower. Blended rate first plus second average of the
Mhm.
two is going to be a lot lower than if you were to do a 7% or a 6.5% cash out on your property.
Yeah.
So, second loans, DSCR seconds have been super popular for us right now. A lot of clients getting their investment properties have a lot of equity locked up. And then, the whole thing is like, we won't let you borrow more than your property cash flow.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we will physically cap you on how much cash you can
No, no
get.
alligators. No alligators.
Yeah. And you will have to make that work, whether that be $30,000 or $40,000. We'll cap you at the maximum that your property cash flows. So, that kind of has been a super popular thing for our clients to make sure that, everything still cash flows, but they're able to get liquidity.
Yeah, that's actually something I wanted to ask about. I love the DSCR seconds, especially if you're sitting on a two or a three. It
Mhm.
just makes the right sense for folks. But I'm curious, you have a lot of investors that are getting these. What are they doing? Are they creating dry powder because they see opportunity coming? Are they using it as a way to add value to a project? And if you don't know, that's totally fine too. But I'm just curious, what do these seconds get used for? You have any idea?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it depends on what market you're in, right? It's market by market, but you know, clients are taking these out that I've seen. Some of them are consolidating debt. So like
Hmm.
that they've accumulated while fixing up properties or doing rehabs or whatnot, because their credit score really takes a dump, obviously, when they're using their credit utilization. So
Sure.
some of them are paying that off so that they can continue to get better credit to get better loans because it's not a
Hmm.
down payment issue. And then some of them the majority of them that I'm seeing is literally just taking that second and then going to another property and putting a down payment in.
Yeah.
So it's just moving one to the other, but that is still cheaper than, taking a personal loan
Oh,
or
yeah.
getting another investor. And so it's like it's still equity that you have and the property still cash flows. So it's almost like a no-brainer to just take that and move it to another asset that's going to make you, X amount more dollars. Obviously, you got to do the work first, but
Yeah,
it works out that way.
I love the fact, and this is something I wrote about in my book, One Rental at a Time. The bank that I went to on my first property, they did not have my best interest in mind. They didn't cap me. They basically said, "How much do you want?" They gave me everything because I said yes, and then I had an alligator, negative cash flow. How stupid
Mhm.
was that? I love the DSCR loans that you guys do the math and it caps out. It's like, no, I know there's plenty of equity to give you 100 grand, but we're only going to give you 42 grand because that's where this thing doesn't debt service, right? You don't get hurt. You don't get hurt on purpose, I guess, by doing
Exactly.
that. I love that idea.
Exactly. And it really makes a lot of sense for investors. And before we end the video, I wanted to also throw in a product that I forgot to talk about, which
Mhm.
is kind of new, because jumbo loans are starting to kind of come into play.
Oh, okay.
We used to have an older fund that would accept deposits and give lower rates for like private client type people. That has come back. And
Ooh.
now, we can do jumbo loans with like 20% down, 30% down, as low as 5.3 on a primary residence with deposits.
Oh,
Yeah. And the
wow.
deposits actually go into a CD. So it's like you're still going to make money on your money, but it allows you to still access a jumbo loan property to live in, um,
Hmm.
to kind of go, continue to invest. But that's also why these programs are also the reason why investors are having a hard time buying this, despite, because all these programs are coming back that are
Yeah.
like, hey, primary borrower, go buy the property that you're going to live in
Yeah.
versus an investor coming in.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's not a bad thing. Having more owner occupants get on the property ladder is not a bad thing. I think it is the best place to wealth. I guess one topic we should wrap up with is when do you think somebody should do a cash out refi or get rid of that, 2, 3, let's call it 2 or 3%. Are there any kind of situations where you know what, you just got to do it?
I think the only way that you would want to do something like that is if you are in an unsurmountable amount of debt that you got yourself into over the last year, and there is really no other way. Like I would make it the last resort,
Yeah.
right? because there's really no other reason to get rid of that. But I've seen clients where they literally just don't have a choice. Their credit card bills are like 50 to 100K, and they have to use the equity, but they can't really like use the equity to qualify because it's
Mhm.
max cash out or on a second is like 75%, 80%, 90%. So they just are kind of stuck. So in those
Mhm.
cases where it's like your mortgage is like maybe 100 grand, but your credit card bills are 50 grand, it's like you might as well, kind of do that because then you're going to get a better rate of return on your money.
Yeah. I think there
Yeah.
are a couple of life situations that come up, whether it be debt, maybe an illness or something.
Yeah.
Life's not fair, certainly.
Yep.
Um, but I just want people to realize there's a lot more reasons not to do it.
Hmm.
There are a lot of options that people don't bring. And obviously, it's not right for everyone. The other one I could think of is you owe almost nothing on your mortgage and
Yeah.
you got all of this equity. So, I mean, it's like, it just doesn't matter. But
Yeah, for sure. And if the second is a larger portion, I guess in that case, like if the second loan was going to be 150,000, but your first is like 30, then your blended
exactly.
rate average is worse. So you
Yeah,
might
just
as well just
might
take
as
the,
well.
yeah,
Yeah.
6% and cash out higher.
And call it a day. Yeah, there are a
Yeah.
couple of where the math would work. So, Jonathan, at the end of the day, one of the things I love about working with Convoy Home Loans is you listen to the client, you try to figure out what they're doing, and you help them put them in the right things. But also, you tell them no. I've heard lots of people say you guys said no and you saved them because the deal wasn't right. It was too skinny. It had hair on it, whatever. So, if somebody wanted to reach out and talk to you or Dustin, how would they do that?
Go to convoyhomeloans.com and let us know you came from more at.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy.